Morning and welcome to the Tuesday, January 14th, 2025, first of the year County Commission meeting. We'll begin with a call to order, and then we'll have a moment of silent reflection for the first responders and members of our armed forces, an invocation by the Reverend Dale Gladding from the Risk Takers for Christ, and Commissioner Morse will lead us in the pledge. Please rise.
I invite you to join me in prayer. Father God, the scripture tells us that the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. And so, Lord, we pray today that you would keep our commissioners in the palm of your hand, Lord, that you would guide them, that you would direct them, Lord, that you would protect them. Lord, I just thank you for Laura and Susan and Joe and Darrell and Joe, Lord, their willingness to serve our community. And so, Lord, I ask your blessing on them, on their families, and pray that you would guide and direct as you see fit, that they would judge and govern righteously. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Inviting everyone to honor our Purple Heart veterans a week from Saturday, that's January 25th, at the SEAL Museum at 1 o'clock. Now let's honor our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. At this time, is there any additions, deletions to the agenda?
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Yes, sir. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On the rare occasion, we have no proclamations today, but we're excited to have a presentation by NorPetro regarding the renewable natural gas project. George? Don't read it like a proclamation.
Pardon? I appreciate that. First of all, good morning, commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here today. We've got a short presentation that we'll go through. Fortunately, before the new year, we were able to get together and walk through the facility, but tremendous progress has been made over the last 12 months to get the RNG production plant online here this quarter. So with that said, I will do just a quick presentation and provide an update to the commission as well as the constituents through the televised program. So in terms of focusing first, I'd like to start off with, again, communicating our vision and our mission as a company. Our vision continues to be a world where communities and government are empowered to take ownership over their future. And that means harnessing different energy sources and operating efficiently, both from a government and a business perspective. Our mission is to transform the world through smarter energy solutions. And that's exactly what we're doing here in building the state of Florida's third renewable natural gas production plant using landfill gas as the source feedstock. In terms of the community benefits, before we focus in on the progress made thus far, the community benefits are, first and foremost, we're going to enhance your waste management services by optimizing these resources, and we're going to harness the pipeline grid. Again, Indian River County, beginning Q2 of this year, will have its own domestic source of natural gas being produced right here. And that will supply 80% of the needs within the county. And that is a remarkable feat because it provides a level of resiliency during any sort of natural disaster. If the utility pipeline, although it is the most reliable infrastructure, if it ever gets interrupted in the interstate line, Indian River County will have its own supply source coming right here from the landfill. 2, educational opportunities, being at the forefront, now being able to work with the school district once the operation turns on here at the end of this quarter, we will work with the school district to educate our future leaders in terms of what you can utilize and how to maximize the different resources that a community, a county may have. Finally, community engagement. As we're doing here today and as we continue to do, we'll make sure that everybody in this community understands and appreciates the great work that not only this commission has done as well as the Solid Waste Department, but us in this partnership doing something truly unique in the state of Florida. So we couldn't be more excited. And take a moment just to thank your entire department for the Solid Waste District is first rate. Himanshu and Ron have been incredible to work with, collaborative, thoughtful, and deliberate in how decisions are made. And so the county is very fortunate to have such great leadership within that department. In terms of the site update, so as you see here, the plant is near complete. Over the last month, we hit a peak of 60 jobs on site. So in terms of economic productivity within the community, we've realized that as we represented a year ago. So the jobs have been all well-paying jobs, and the facility is on time and really being built out effectively well. And what you see there is the interconnection line. So basically, once the gas comes out of the landfill, which is where you see kind of the palm trees on that image, the landfill gas will be transported through a pipeline, which was already installed. We'll process it, we'll clean it, and then we'll inject it right into the pipeline. And what you see there that's boxed out, that is the interconnection to the utility. This is a further update in terms of where we stood a year ago, a little bit less than a year ago, 9 months ago. We stood right there where you see that box at the groundbreaking event, and now right behind it you see the facility that was represented to be built. So very exciting. In terms of the project progression, we break out any development into 3 phases. The first phase is the pre-construction phase, where we begin the preliminary design of a facility. We begin to issue equipment orders in order to achieve a certain timeline. So as you can see, we are now at phase 3. Phase 2 is once we've executed our construction contracts, we begin to actually break ground on all the civil work, all the site engineering that had been done prior to that gets built out. And then finally, phase 3, which is where we are now, is the process piping and the commissioning of the facility. We begin commissioning towards the first week in February, and the plant will be fully operational by the end of March is what we're envisioning right now. So everything has really been on time. The team has done an incredible job in being able to execute the project. And so as you see on the right-hand side, we've got about 24% left of the project to complete. So it's nearly complete, and the timeline is pretty remarkable, right? We were there 9 months ago in March at the groundbreaking, and being out there 2 weeks ago as we got to do a little site tour, seeing all that development is truly impressive in such a short order of time. Again, focusing on some of the milestones over the last 9 months. So first, from a hiring staff perspective, as I mentioned, 60 construction jobs we've created. We've now begun to hire locally from the operations team, and I'm glad to announce that we've hired 2 individuals here to run the facility, which are with us today. First is Brian Allen, who is our plant manager. So he has joined us now and will be overseeing the facility. So Brian, please take a moment. And then also Cody, Cody is now our technician as well, that'll be joining the project. And it's critical for them to be there now while we commission to truly understand the operation of the facility from both a functional and a safety perspective. All the equipment has been delivered and placed, just about almost all, 90% has been now placed at the facility. The water line installation, so as part of this collaborative effort, we installed and invested in a water line that the county will ultimately get the benefit of. So we've effectively made an investment, which will also benefit the county long-term in being able to access that. The biogas line, such a critical part of the project, complete. It's all connected now to the facility. We are in the final stages of developing all the SOPs for the facility, and this is key, working with the fire department in terms of making sure that from a safety perspective, everything is done first rate. I mean, safety is a priority, as you can all know. It's very part of our culture. And then finally, safety management. Integrating a health and safety plan for the operation in the facility is full speed ahead. and our team is now engaged with Safety Health, where we are now integrating that program across the facility and across all the employees of the company. I also want to take one moment and really applaud on our side 3 of the executives that have been running this project day to day. First and foremost, Mike Whitney, our Senior VP of Operations, has done just a fantastic job leading the day-to-day execution of this project. Danny Hernandez, our project manager, who's done a remarkable job as well and interfaces quite often with your folks. And then finally, Melissa Monstral, our engineering manager, that's done first rate in terms of making sure that all our processes are in place. So what's next? We're at the finish line. So as we prepare, we're finally FP&L. We'll be bringing the interconnection and charging the facility. We expect that to happen towards the end of this month, early next month. Finalizing our controls, all the SOPs for the facility. Ensuring that our preventative maintenance schedule is finalized and we've got all parts in place to make sure continuity of operations. Ensuring that Indian River County's biogas landfill skid is fully integrated into our facility, which we're also working with your team on. Aligning Florida City Gas as they continue to finalize the pipeline interconnection across the county. And then finally, preparing our personnel and vendors for site commissioning first week of next month. So with that said, again, I can't thank you all enough. It's been an exciting journey. And as we stood here a year ago making these decisions to move forward, so I want to thank each of you for your support and glad that we can be delivering on this initiative. So with that, I'm just going to open it up for questions and comments.
George, just thank you. Thank you. And thank you for inviting all of us. We had a beautiful tour of the facility, a very safe tour of the facility. Yes, I see, and yes, she's nodding. We got a chance to see exactly what you were talking about, exactly the image of the structure. Yes, we didn't see any gas yet, but the amount of safety and concern and deployment that your team was doing was very impressive. They didn't skip a beat, and we were allowed access to see firsthand how this operation, it was well explained too. So, George, thank you. And thank you for introducing the team. Thank you for having the team. And we will look forward to a very successful, productive gas.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. Appreciate it, Chairman Flesher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. George, congratulations on this. I know it's not been an easy road at times, but nothing worthwhile is, it doesn't seem. So I'm very excited about this project. Again, it's always thought it's been out of the box thinking, and it's great for the area. It's great for that Oslo corridor, and it's great for us. It's great for the landfill ecologically and financially, and I'm just really excited about it, very, very proud of what y'all have done, and you should be proud of what you're doing. You and your staff have done a great job, and I think it's just going to be good things are going to happen over the next few years. So,
Thank you, Commissioner.
looking forward to it.
Really appreciate that.
I just wanted to say thank you for the recent tour. I probably was the most skeptical at first, but I'm very pleased to see it all coming together, and thank you for the constant contact, if you will. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
I just want to say that I'm very excited to see this up and operational. It's been an exciting project from the beginning, something different for us in Indian River County, but just the fact that we are going to be able to be using a byproduct and making it usable out of the landfill is fantastic. And I know there's been some steps along the way with our leachate project and some other things to get to this point, but the things that are going on at the landfill and the projects that are going on there from a sustainability and environmental perspective are just amazing. And I'm really looking forward to this. And I see Sean and Hamachi in the back. And once we get this up, we're going to move on to a new fun project. So get your thinking caps on. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it, Commissioners. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, John.
Well, with that, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of November 5th, 2024.
Approval.
We have a motion by Vice Chairman, seconded by Commissioner Joe. All right, anything further? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On informational items, we have the internal audit for the Division for Annual Report. We do have the Florida Public Service Commission consummating order, and that includes Hurricanes Debbie, Helene, Milton, and it is available for review at the office of the Clerk of the Board. The event calendar. No, I will not read the event calendar or any highlights because there's several pages. But I want to thank our recreation staff. I want to thank our library staff. We have a team, and if anybody says there's nothing to do in Indian River County, they're not looking at the event calendar. There's something just about every day happening, whether it's a sporting activity, an educational endeavor. So please take the time to look at the event calendar because there's a lot to offer. And then, of course, we have the St. John's Water Management District 2025 Governing Board meeting schedule. So that's there for anyone's review. At this time, we'll have, if anyone wants to speak on an agenda item that may not be able to stay for the agenda item, they can take this opportunity to speak. And once again, with the exception of anything that's on the public hearings, specifically quasi-judicial. Having given ample opportunity, we will move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda. Commissioners. We're gonna do a perfect score. Well, I'll entertain a motion. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
I'd say, okay. Commissioner by Joe Aaron, and seconded by Darrell Ward. Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Wow, that's a Teflon. All right, we'll just move on to constitutional officers and government agencies, which there are none to be moving forward. We'll now then go to public items. We have a public hearing considering the state staff initiative land development regulation, an LDR, amendments to remove the duplexes from the county site plan and review requirements. This is legislative in nature. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The PowerPoint, please. Again, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Ryan Sweeney, Assistant Planning Development Services Director. This is a group of land development regulation amendments to remove duplexes from the site plan review and approval process. The LDR amendment process is legislative in nature. It requires a public hearing by the Planning and Zoning Commission, which makes a recommendation to the board, and then a final public hearing by the Board of County Commissioners, which is occurring today. So the county LDRs currently require duplexes to be reviewed and approved via the minor site plan review and approval process, and that process requires additional applications and fees. It is a more substantial submittal requirement. It can be a 3 to 6 month process from date of application, and it typically requires the services of a consulting engineer to navigate the process. The county's Affordable Housing Advisory Committee directed staff to proceed with LDR amendments to remove duplexes from the site plan review and approval process, and the intent is to reduce the cost of building duplexes on individual lots or parcels of record. Duplexes are already exempted from most stormwater and traffic or parking requirements throughout the existing LDRs. Duplexes will still be required to provide individual lot drainage plans similar to a single-family home, and they will also be required to obtain a Type C permit if they are located within the floodplain. They must still be appropriately zoned and meet all applicable zoning and dimensional criteria. There's not a ton of multifamily individual lots or parcels of record out there, but this would allow it on those parcels. And this is not intended to exempt site plan or subdivision projects which proposes multiple duplexes or units. This is truly just individual parcels of record or lots. And staff supports the request. The Planning and Zoning Commission at its regular meeting of December 12th, 2024, conducted a public hearing and recommended that the board adopt the proposed LDR amendments by a vote of 7-0. And staff's recommendation is that the board adopt the proposed LDR amendments to remove duplexes on individual lots or parcels of record from the county site plan requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for staff?
Thank you. Aren't affordable housing permits fast-tracked already?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Moss, yes, they are, but this would remove that process entirely and allow duplexes to go straight to building permit.
Okay, so what guarantee do we have that the duplexes will be affordable housing?
There's no guarantee. It's, we're not requiring that the duplexes be affordable, but by their nature, they typically are a rentable product.
I just think it might be better to develop some kind of incentive package for any kind of affordable housing development. It doesn't matter, it wouldn't matter whether it's single family or duplex or apartments, because I'm thinking of all the apartments that were built out on Route 60, and all I hear, and apartments supposedly, could be better for affordable housing too, but they're not. In our case, I hear, a lot of complaints about that. Well, we have all those apartments and they're not affordable. So if we do this, we'll hear, well, we have all those duplexes and they're not affordable, unless we have some kind of a commitment from the developer. So I'm more in favor of a package, an incentive package that could apply to any kind of development to enhance the likelihood of affordable housing.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Moss, one of the things I'd say is on an annual basis, we do look at our LHAP and evaluate the incentives. And if I think each of the last 2 years we've evaluated, last year we made Commissioner Lohr's request, made an adjustment, but we look at those incentives, and I think we avail ourselves to all those incentives that are included. And I think largely right now, the expedited component that we have is related to building and permitting. What this is going to do on the site plan process side is going to speed it up. And I don't. And one of the things in my reading of it, it has nothing to do with forsaking any of the requirements that anybody else would be required to develop. It's just going to put it in a track that's done administratively. And we right now, our staff can do up to 25 residential units, without going before the P&Z and going for the board. So I think this is an opportunity, because I think a duplex is an alternate type of affordable housing. It's unique. It's not like apartments per se. You could have one person that's living that's their primary residence, and then they build the second one for the purposes of providing housing at a lower cost. So I think we're trying to, I don't want to say it's a shotgun approach, but I think we're trying to cast a wide net and using the incentives that we have that are consistent. We have to do an annual report, and then we're just continuing. And the other thing I would add is that this was generated from the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee to bring this forward to the board.
Thank you.
So if I can just answer a few of your questions, Commissioner Moss. The Affordable Housing Committee looks at incentives every year, as John said, but we are actually doing a deeper dive into incentives this year. So you'll see some packages starting to come back to align with some of our other visioning processes that we're doing. This is one that was kind of a quick fix identified. The reality is most of these individual lots with duplexes going on them are being built by affordable housing providers to begin with. And it was, now you're absolutely correct. Could somebody come in and build a luxury duplex on an individual lot and take advantage of this? They certainly could, just like the apartments that you mentioned out there were not intended to be affordable products. But the reality with the duplexes is most of those are being utilized when we donate property to some of our affordable housing providers or they get them. That's a way for them to maximize what they can put on that lot versus a single-family home. And we've had some ribbon cuttings, I think, this year, actually, of some duplexes and a triplex as well. And this just aligns that process and takes another hurdle out of their way. You can also then put on top of that some of the other affordable housing incentives that are available. But on its own, because this process is already mostly for duplexes in this scenario, mostly handled by staff anyway, it just takes that final step. But you will be seeing this year several affordable housing, I think, initiatives and ideas that we'll be bringing back from AHAC for the commission to discuss as we go through some of our other ordinance and LDR changes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say that this is consistent with what we've been working on for over a year, not only with working closely with staff. This is a policy change. This body is tasked or commissioned to monitor policy, budget, and some legislative issues. So this is the right step that we're going. We've heard the frustration over the last several months or years. This is a positive sign for the county to expedite things that should have been expedited years ago. So thank you, staff.
Thank you. Anything further? All right. Seeing no other questions, this is a public hearing. We'll open up the public hearing. Two microphones. Having given ample opportunity, public hearing's closed. Commissioners,
Move approval.
Second.
have a, what is it?
Commissioner Adams, you got it.
Yes, yes. So we have a motion by Commissioner Adams, seconded by Commissioner Law. Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed? Nay.
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Morse dissenting.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a request to amend the zoning ordinance and accompanying zoning map for approximately 5.70 acres located at the terminus of 73rd Street and Old Dixie Highway, west of Highway 1, from CL Limited Commercial District to CG General Commercial District. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. The parties of the proceeding are Indian River County and Leopoldo Lunch, who is the applicant. At this time, I need to ask the commissioners to disclose any ex parte communications, site visits, or independent investigations. And we'll start with the left.
None.
None.
None that I'm aware of. At this time, I'd like to confirm that all commissioners have an open mind and are able to base their decision on the evidence presented and applicable law.
Can and will.
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 All right. At this time, we're going to open up the public hearing. And in addition, if there's anyone here today that will be speaking on behalf of this item, please stand and be sworn in by the clerk. Madam Clerk.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
We'll begin with staff.
Good morning. I'm Cindy Thurman, Senior Planner for Long Range Planning. It's
presentation to you is for a request for, from limited commercial to CG. Subject property is located, the subject property is the north 5.70 acres of the overall 7.91 acre parcel located between Old Dixie Highway and 39th Avenue west of US Highway 1. The purpose of this request is to rezone just the northern portion of the property to CG to secure the zoning to develop the site with general commercial uses. This area of the county is characterized by a sparse mixture of commercial and industrial uses with residential development on the east side of US 1 along the 73rd Street corridor. To the north of the subject property is an established plant nursery with a garden center that was developed in the 1970s. To the east is a restaurant with a small non-conforming residential home. To the west is Old Dixie Highway and the FEC railroad tracks. On the east side of US Highway 1 is a 9-acre parcel occupied by the Polish American Social Club of Vero Beach. And the remaining southern 2.21 acres of the property will not be rezoned, and I flipped to the zoning map here to show you. It will remain CL and serve as a zoning buffer. It is ultimately too narrow to develop, and required setbacks and buffering constrain the site for significant development. And here in the zoning map, you can see the whole parcel, which is the 7.91 acres in total, is outlined in yellow. Just the portion being rezoned is there in the red. And here you can see the future land use map. The property is located in a commercial industrial future land use node, which is in the red. The existing zoning, the commercial limited CL district, is intended to provide for areas limited for restricted commercial activities, intended to accommodate the convenience, retail, and service needs of an area residents while minimizing the impact of such activities on any nearby residential areas. No drive-throughs are permitted in CL. No outside activities or storage is permitted in CL. Look at the development standards as in comparison for CL and CG. They're virtually the same. Minimum lot area, lot width, the density, and the setbacks, and minimum open space. For CG, general commercial, this is the proposed zoning intended to provide for areas of development of general retail sales and selected service activities. CG zoning district is not intended to provide for heavy commercial activities such as outside commercial service uses or heavy repair service uses. No outside storage is allowed. Self-storage in CG is limited to no more than 3 acres. And as I mentioned before and showed you on the future land use map, the rezoning request is consistent with the commercial industrial future land use designation. It is part of the established commercial industrial future land use node. The commercial industrial future land use designation is intended to provide areas for the development of industrial and commercial uses located in areas with suitable levels of service and infrastructure for urban scale development, located along major transportation routes and separated from residential areas. No future land use amendment change, therefore, is proposed as part of this request. All rezonings are analyzed pursuant to Chapter 902.12, subsection 3, and review criteria pursuant to this chapter, whether items A through K, on items in conflict with the applicable portion of land development regulations. Staff has found no conflicts with applicable land development regulations for the requested CG zoning designation. There are potential buffering benefits from the non-conforming uses will be aided by this request in the area. Item B, consistent with all the elements of the comprehensive plan, we found this specifically meets the criteria of the future land and elements, specifically objective 1, policies 1.17, 1.18, and 1.43. Nearby properties already include uses permitted in the CG zoning district. Is it consistent with the existing proposed land uses? It does meet the criteria, and therefore no future land use amendment change is proposed as part of this request. Item D, is it in compliance with the adopted county thoroughfare plan? It does meet this criteria. The property is in between Old Dixie Highway, 39th Avenue, and west of Highway US 1, with Highway US 1 frontage. Will it generate traffic, which would decrease levels of service as adopted? We believe that all roadway segments within the area of influence would operate at acceptable levels of service under proposed CG zoning. Item F, subject to change conditions existing or an amendment. The acreage has been limited specifically for this request to limit it to the north portion where the economic condition in this area have become more conducive for uses allowed within the CG district. Item G, with decreased levels of service established for sanitary sewer, potable water, solid waste, drainage, and recreation, the applicant may be required to pay connection customary fees. A more detailed concurrency review will be conducted during the development review process. Section 910.07 Land Development Regulations requires a conditional concurrency review of the rezoning request based upon the most intense use, the existing CL and the proposed CG zoning district. The concurrency review request, there is de minimis impact. They're virtually the same impact. Item H, result in the significant adverse impacts on the natural environment, meets the criteria. The subject property is undeveloped at this time. A more detailed environmental analysis will be required when the site-specific development proposal is determined. Item I, the result in the orderly and logical development pattern, specifically identifying negative effects on such pattern. Proposed amendment aligns with the comprehensive plan and all the surrounding land uses. Item J, in conflict with public interest and is in harmony with the purpose and interest of the land development regulations. We believe it meets this criteria and has found no adverse impacts to public welfare and finds that request aligns with the purpose and intent of the land development regulations. And finally, item K, any other matters that may be deemed appropriate in review and consideration of proposed amendments such as police protection, fire protection, emergency medical services. All concurrency mandated facilities have adequate capacity to accommodate the most intense use under proposed zoning district. So in conclusion, the request for CG zoning district is compatible with surrounding area, consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the county's adopted comprehensive plan, is consistent with the county's adopted land development regulations. Subject property is deemed suitable for CG zoning. It can be supported by staff. And on December 12, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously voted to recommend approval of the request to rezone the subject property from CL to CG. And staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve this request to rezone the subject property from CL to CG. And we're available for questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, is there any questions of staff at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to item E, that has to do with traffic impact analysis, could you comment on that, please?
Sure, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Moss. Yes, with that, there is actually an exemption in our our actual analysis part of the land development regulations, where if it is de minimis, it does not have to have a traffic impact statement because the traffic generated would be exactly the same as the previous zoning category. As Ms. Thurman showed on the previous slides, the actual uses, although they differ slightly, the most intense are still the same. So the actual traffic generated would not be different from the existing zoning category that's there. So there is no need for a traffic impact statement or a traffic study for the actual uses. Now, once the site plan development comes into effect, if there was somehow a trigger that would trigger a traffic study, then that would be evaluated at that time. But at this time, at this rezoning, because they are like for like, there is no need for a traffic impact study or statement.
Okay, thank you for that. On the application form, looking at the proposed use on site, it says indoor parking and storage, garage, condo, AKA man cave. So is it going to be more storage units? The reason why I ask is it's becoming a laughing joke, between storage units and car washes. I hear a lot of people comment on that in a negative way, shall we say. So is it going to be storage units, if you know?
I will let the applicant speak on that, but I would just advise the commission to not bring into uses when you're determining this zoning category. It's not supposed to be one of your deciding factors, but I'll allow the applicant to speak on that.
I'm sorry, what?
I'll allow the applicant to speak on the intended
Okay.
uses.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
if he so wishes, as it does not germane to the decision we're making today.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, I got a quick question. Commercial, general, commercial, limited, can limited not be included in general?
So all of the uses that are in limited commercial can be included into general commercial. If in the general commercial uses, it allows for a little bit more flexibility of uses than our limited commercial. And as Ms. Thurman stated, when she brought up the actual zoning map, there's a reason why when we did a pre-application meeting with the applicant that we could only do the northern portion of general commercial and support that for compatibility reasons, because the southern portion being it so oddly shaped and also would no longer conform with any setbacks with general commercial. Plus there's existing uses to the south of that parcel that wouldn't be compatible. So that is why the northern portion is split. And also CG allows for a little bit more uses.
That was my
that are-
question. I was wondering why you would necessarily want to split on your 7 acres, unless there was a definitive reason between the two of why.
So limited commercial allows for lesser uses. It also, because of the compatibility issue with the neighboring properties to the south, the applicant has actually done a design that I believe he can speak on that would buffer a little bit better and also provide some stormwater management in that area to have a true buffer on the site for compatibility reasons as well.
Thank you. That's it? Okay. At this time, if the applicant has any questions of staff, this would be the time. You have questions of staff?
I have no questions of staff. I'd be happy, I'm sorry, I thought there was also an opportunity to address Laura Moss's question too, unless I should wait to another time.
No, we're actually going to give you the opportunity
Okay,
now to
I'm
do a
sorry.
presentation, Joe.
Good.
All right? So the next item is any questions or input from the applicant or a presentation? Do you have one at this time?
Yes, very short. Sorry about the confusion.
That's all right.
Mr. Fletcher. My name is Joseph Schulke, Schulke Stoddard, Vero Beach, Florida. I'm here to represent the applicant. We reviewed the staff report and agree with it entirely. I was here at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting as well. P&Z recommended approval 7-0. The adjacent property owner at the time, Busy Bee, was here and went on record at the P&Z saying they were in support of the application as well. Mrs. Moss, I'd like to just address your concern since you brought it up. The proposal in place is for an Indian River Motor House, which is not a rental storage facility, but it's a storage condominium. You'll see there was one built on 41st Street, just west of the airport. It's an entirely different concept. It's not storage rentals where people are going in and out. It's actually a purchase, a condominium where people buy these units. So it's concrete structures. They're not metal buildings. They're done, I think, fairly tastefully. The way they look, you can see them on 41st Street. So it's a different product entirely, and minimal traffic impacts, and popular product that we developed ourselves here in Erie County. We've done Vero Auto House on 12th Street, Motor House on US 1, Motor House 2 on 41st, and now this one we're proposing. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about it, but that's...
No, thank you, I appreciate that.
And I have nothing further to add other than thank you for considering this today and giving me an opportunity to address the board.
Thank you. At this time, we have any input from the public? You. Seeing none, given ample opportunity, we have any final presentation or argument or discussion by staff?
No, sir.
Do we have any further argument or discussion by the applicant? No, With that, I want to ensure that all documents and tangible evidence that have been admitted as evidence are in the hands of the clerk. Madam Clerk?
Yes.
With that, this county staff agenda items are automatically submitted and put into evidence for perpetuity if there are no objections. At this time, we'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, everybody's got their own.
Move approval, Chairman.
Second, we have a motion by Vice Chairman Lohr, seconded by myself. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to public notice items. Counselor?
Commissioners, this is, next meeting, we'll be bringing to you the ordinance that you requested to make some modifications to the Children's Services Advisory Committee. I'll go ahead and read the ordinance title and then just kind of briefly state what the ordinance will be. An ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, amending Indian River County Code, Chapter 103, Section 103.22, appointment to the Children's Services Advisory Committee. And specifically, this ordinance would make the commissioner that's appointed to Children's Services Advisory Committee a non-voting member. It would add one additional at-large member to compensate for that loss of a voting member, and also make the chair, the commissioner assigned the chair of CSAC. So that'll be coming to you next month.
Thank you, Counselor. Next item is in the arena of Planning and Development Services. And this will be consideration of the Treasure Coast Diagnostic Laboratory, Inc.'s request for a local jobs grant. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners, again. Okay, today before you, we have a local jobs grant application for Treasure Coast Diagnostics Laboratory Incorporated. The local jobs grant program is a financial incentive for targeted industries to locate or expand within Indian River County. That's policy 2.5 of the comprehensive plan. We give $3,000 for each new position created that pays from 75% to 99.99% of the county's average annual wage, $5,000 for each new position created that pays from 100% to 149.99% of the county's average annual wage, and $7,000 for each new position created that pays 150% or more of the county's average annual wage. The targeted industry classification, Treasure Coast Diagnostics Lab is a leading provider of comprehensive diagnostic services. They perform lab tests for patients, doctor offices, and individual clients. The applicant has been found eligible for the local jobs grant program that falls under the county's life sciences industry as a targeted industry category. Their location will be in Indian River County, specifically in the city of Vero Beach. Due diligence. Focused on the main sources of data readily available on the company, its officers, and agents through Dun & Bradshaw Credit and Financial Report, corporate registrations and lien searches, county official records for tax lien searches, judgments and pending litigation, and then public access to court electronic records, PACER, to search for federal, civil, and federal bankruptcy actions. Before you, you'll see the proposed job salary range and payments per job. So there are 4 qualified jobs at the 75% of the county average wage, which equals a total of $3,000 for each job for a total of $12,000. And 3 qualified jobs for 100% of the county's average wage, which is $5,000 for a total of 15, which a total grant amount of $27,000. The date proposed that the jobs will be in place, you'll see here, there was 5 put in place on 12/15/2024. That equals about $19,000 of the job grant, and 2 that are in place on 1/15/2025, which is $8,000. Now, these jobs do have to be in place for at least a year prior to us paying any jobs grant amounts, and they are split up into 2 different payments. and they can be, the dates can be changed administratively and extended up to 1 year from that date. The potential payments by fiscal year are before you, 2025-26, $13,500, and 2026-27, $13,500. We split those equally between the years for a total of $27,000. Recommendation, on November 19th, the Economic Development Council unanimously recommended that the jobs grant application for Treasure Coast Diagnostics Laboratory be approved, and staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve a local jobs grant for up to $27,000 for Treasure Coast Diagnostic Laboratory. With that being said, the applicant is in attendance, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions, staff?
No, I'd be happy to move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Adams and a second by Vice Chairman Law. And I see Helene Castletine is here. So before we call the question, do you have anything to come forward on?
Sure.
I thought you would.
Just a minute. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Helene Castletine, Economic Development Vice President with the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for taking the time to consider this local jobs grant application. The owners are here in the audience if you do have any questions. I will say that they have not yet made any official offers to any employees as yet, but that's coming very, very soon. They're working with our partners at CareerSource Research Coast to find employees. So they have spoken with some, but they've not made any official offers to any employees as yet, but I think that's coming pretty soon. As I explained during the EDC meeting, even though this is a relatively small company, the economic impact is still pretty significant, even just in terms of paychecks circulating in our local economy. When you do the math, it's a little over $350,000 in paychecks each year circulating in our local economy. People are going out to restaurants and they're going to Target or Walmart or whatever they're doing. So the direct, indirect, and induced economic impact was pretty significant. Our partners at Florida Power and Light's Economic Development Office did that calculation for us. And again, it was pretty significant. So thank you very much for your consideration. Really appreciate it. And if you did have any questions of the owners, they are here if you need to.
Well, let's hope if this passes that they have the opportunity to do the actual hiring, because as a reminder, the jobs grant is responsive to the jobs. It's not the jobs responsive to the grant.
Correct.
So let's get to the hiring mode if this does pass.
Correct. Right.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, sir. Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations and thank you. We now move on, Counselor. We do have the committees to discuss. The Indian River County Committee's annual member reappointment for 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is a duty that's the County Attorney's Office has recently resumed. And before I kind of dig into it, I wanted to publicly thank Christina Moore from our office, who's put a lot of work into this board item. So basically what the committee monitor does is contact all the board-appointed members whose terms are expiring and determine who wants to be reconsidered for reappointment and to present that to you. And then when there's vacancies, we would be responsible for posting them and bringing any follow-up appointments to you. So I recommend if you look in your board item, you've got a list of the people that are asking to be reappointed to these boards, and then we just kind of have an informational item for you on the last page, which is the vacancies that are right now occurring. So basically, I recommend we kind of go committee by committee, because on some of these committees, there are commissioner-appointed people who serve at the pleasure of the commissioner, and there might be some changes in those, but those aren't voted on. So that's how I recommend we proceed.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes. Well, Commissioners, I hope you've had ample opportunity to review the list. As noted by Counselor, there are some where they are directly your appointees. This is your opportunity if you wish not to continue that appointment, or should you choose to change that appointment, then you'd need to speak now, because we're looking to affirm all of the committees as presented unless you have any other input. So we'll start with the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And we have Jeff Francisco, Linda Morgan, David Myers, and Ken Chip Landis. I'll be happy to entertain.
Move approval of, or renewal, what is it? Am I moving renewal or?
Reappointment.
Reappointment, okay, there we
Move
go. I'll
reappointment.
move that.
Second.
Second. And we have a motion by Commissioner Adams, seconded by Commissioner Moss. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody's got a microphone.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Agricultural Advisory Committee, we have Pamela Hund, Anna Kirkland, and Sean Sexton.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Adams, seconded by myself. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Beach and Shore Preservation, we have William Tuck Farrell, Shelby Graziani, and Michael Soleil.
Mr. Chairman, I certainly would like to make a motion to accept these people, but I have a question on members that are BCC appointed or members that are at-large appointed as we go through the list here, because we have some are called BCC appointees, some are called member-at-large. They're basically either or. They work at the discretion of us as a total board. We vote on those people as a total board. They're not, they're not like planning and zoning where we put a member from each district. And I think we need that clarified. Then the second thing I want to say is we can also remove those people should we wish to, but we need to have an application or something with regards to those positions. I would say something like maybe we need to wait for 30 days before we approve any members at large or BCC appointees to see if we get any further applications in 30 days and come back with these committees that have those positions in 30 days, just so we're being transparent and open about everything. Because I've heard a couple people that are interested in filling some of the spots that are empty, and a couple of people that are, interested in applying. And I think there's been some confusion, because we had some confusion when we moved it from the county attorney's office to the BOCC office, and now back to the county attorney's office, which Christina came through in the bottom of the ninth inning and finished this for us and got this information. I just think there's some things we need to clarify as regards to the at-large and appointees. First would be the language. What is the difference between an appointee and a member at-large? Maybe I can ask the counselor that. Maybe she can help us with that, get through here.
I think on this Beach and Shore Preservation Advisory Committee, because the members, I'm looking at the resolution establishing it, because the resolution, we have different cities, all the cities appoint a member, and then the Board of County Commissioners appoints a member, 6 members. So I think that's called BCC appointee because of the language of the initiating resolution, versus when you have a board that's all your members, all your appointees. Each commissioner has certain ones that they appoint, and then there's some that are at large. Although on CSAC it is a little bit different, right? Because we call some people at large. I think,
Design.
yeah, I think it's because it was set up this way in the resolution. That's why it's called that, if that helps.
Again, all committees are not created in the same manner. We have had times where we've had an abundance of applicants. So we fulfill that, review them here, and we appoint as a commission. Where it says district appointee, that is your personal selection for a committee, and that will come up right up the road. But in addition, the at-large positions, again, have historically been in perpetuity if there was nobody else to apply. It was just customarily done. But I see your point, and there are people that would like to, but feel that there's somebody in that committee position already. If any of you have gotten that request, perhaps we should hold off on that decision and allow it an opportunity to have the applicants come forward and then appoint. At the time, we can still have the meetings as standing until we reaffirm them. Is that correct, Counselor?
Yes, the person would continue to serve until someone else is reappointed. So basically, kind of how we have it set up in our resolution on this whole process here, when you create the vacancy, we post it. Are you asking my office to post a vacancy for 3 positions to Beach and Shore, for example, or?
Well, that would be, I don't know if that would be appropriate, because then the sitting committee members would be noted as a vacant position.
So maybe what we do instead is just simply post something that says, we're inviting applicants. We're inviting applicants for consideration.
Yeah, I would say we don't need to, we create the vacancy in 30 days. If we choose to remove somebody, I don't see us removing anybody, but if we, I just want it clarified between, let me back up. I want it clarified between member at large, BC appointee. It seems like we do the same thing for both. And
Can I just?
what we need to do, we have applications that we want to come in. Like I have an opening on Beach and Shore for a BCC appointee right now. There is one opening, but I don't have any applications for it. So I just think we ought to, anything that's BCC appointee or member at large, since we can have the authority as a whole body to appoint or remove, that we ought to wait till February and see if we get applications in the next 30 days and then just move on from there. Do it like we've always done. I don't see any reason to create a vacancy like if we wanted to, fire somebody today and create the vacancy. I don't see a need for that because they're doing a pretty good job as far as I understand. So we need to just make sure that we've allowed applications to come in and we treat them as such. I think that's my thought.
Well, I don't know if it clarifies it, but, and I believe that Counselor did, an appointee, again, as far as broad scale with all committees are not created in the same direction. Some of them were directed by the state to have that committee. Some of them by ordinance, we have designed that there is certain criteria. Some of the committees were required to have a member from each jurisdiction, and that would be an appointee. They're actually recommended by the governing body that holds the seat, and then we affirm it. Again, annually, we'll hear from all of the municipalities, and we'll be forwarded the list, and then we will be approving that. That would be an appointee. In addition, the member at large, we have an opportunity to vote on. So, Counselor, let me ask you this. If everyone is affirmed today, with the exclusion of any appointees that someone might want to change, we could bring that back and call them back and then go forward again? Because I'm concerned about as you recommended inquired if we wanted to have a vacancy listing, but I think that would be inappropriate.
Okay, so I would just recommend that you let them ride and then we would post on the website that for 30 days that we're inviting new applications or applicants for consideration for these committees, and then after the 30 days, if we get new applications, we can revisit this committee. Does that help?
Are we legally sufficient by moving forward and then calling them back? Is there a mechanism that we can hold to call anyone back from a position at large? I think that's
Yeah, I just
the
want
question.
to open it up for 30 days.
At large has always been the penumbra, because once they're appointed, they're appointed.
If I can just make a comment, I think what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm hearing wrong, Commissioner Ehrman wants an opportunity, potentially, not necessarily, but as we move in the future, if there's a BCC appointee or an at-large position, to at least not just automatically renew them without other applicants, because the perception is that they're kind of there for life. And
Yes.
it prevents people from maybe putting in applications. And what I'm hearing from the attorney is today she would suggest that we approve basically any committee applicant that wants to re-up that's not a BCC appointee or an at-large. Let those positions just stay how they are and bring them back in 30 days once we have the opportunity to advertise for any applicants that might be interested, so we can compare the current applicant with ones that might be interested and have a conversation at that point if we might want to make changes. Is that what I'm hearing, basically?
I think that's a good approach.
Okay.
So we do have the capacity to have, for lack of a better term, a recall, so that we could do it at the board and then make the appropriate change if necessary, if warranted, if the applicants are available. Could we do that?
Yeah, so you're asking me, I think what you're asking me is if we go ahead and create the vacancy, can the same person that used to be appointed be reappointed in a month? Is that what you're asking me? Because I think the answer, my answer is yes.
Yes. Okay, so the same person could be reappointed, but if there is a change, we could have,
But you could have someone different also, so, yes.
So, taking Economic Development Council as an example, there's 2 members at large on that have indicated they would be willing to serve. But there's also 4 on here that serve specific roles, like local tourist industry, Gifford community, blah, blah. Today, we could approve the specific rolled people, or like in CSAC where there's a District 5 specific appointee, reaffirm those, and the members at large in economic development would just come back in 30 days and we'll do an all-call for anybody that might want to get involved in economic development. And then we can evaluate what those committees are doing and what may or may not be needed change-wise.
Yeah, I think that would work well.
As an example of what we have in front of us today, so we're still
moving forward and approving.
but we're just not approving, we're not approving and we're not disapproving the members at large or BCC appointees. We're just kind of tabling those for 30 days, is how I understand. So we're not creating a vacancy, but we're creating an opportunity to entertain more applicants.
And that was my original suggestion. I think you could do it either way. If you wanted to create the vacancy and reappoint, or you wanted to just let it ride and invite new applicants. But I think either mechanism would work. That would be a good approach.
I think for just bookkeeping purposes, it would be easier just to table those.
I would agree.
And reevaluate them in 30 days versus creating a vacancy? Because that seems cumbersome.
I agree with you.
Now, I don't foresee, looking at the list, I don't foresee many changes, but there may be. There may be a few that we want to just at least look at. I may get somebody from the Beach and Shores that's a beach engineer or something. I don't know. You know, I mean, it could be, somebody could show out in the rough, so.
Well, from a consistency perspective, I think that we have a lot of committees that are doing different work, that we're tasking them with specific things. And maybe there is some fresh ideas that might be helpful, but whatever you guys want to do is fine with me.
Counselor, can we leave everyone intact as they are, as they stand, and do this the first meeting of February?
Yes, because under your code, they continue to serve until their replacement is seated.
So why not do that? I think that addresses your issue.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. Do we need 30 days, though? Do we need to be the second meeting in February? And do we need, to make it?
Yeah, if the vacancy isn't created, I don't think you need the full 30 days. If you create the vacancy, then according to your enabling resolution here, you post for 30 days. But, so you could have it at your next meeting.
So we're just saying, hey,
Just wanna table the whole
applications are
thing.
open, apply if you're interested, and we'll take it.
I think at this juncture with this discussion and the fact that the clarification with BCC appointee and at-large, and it has been one of a discussion dilemma at times. We did extinguish many committees throughout the years that had just appointees that were there, that the committee did not have the effectiveness or resourcefulness, or there was no necessity to have that committee to move forward. So we have paled it down a bit. And that discussion did come up about members at large and how to reform it. In the past, the thought was, once they're appointed, we'll just await their term to extinguish. Again, is it right and fair and just for the citizens that they're serving and the board in which they're making recommendations to? So with that, if we were to table this item and not go forward and clearly post that we will have a meeting of affirmation of any and all existing and new applicants on the last meeting in February, that would give the opportunity for anyone to apply, knowing that there may be vacancies. I don't know if that's,
So you just want to table the whole thing till next?
if we table it and then intent on listing it.
I'm okay with that.
Because we've had two approved, that's my only, affordable, the AHAC and the Agriculture Advisory Committee, you've already,
They don't have any at-large or.
okay.
There
Okay,
is
so we're
no-
only talking about
Or
at-large.
BCC appointees, so.
Okay.
We could probably let those ride, or we can just rescind it if that's what you guys want to do and table the whole thing. I think I made the motion, so what would the chair prefer?
Again, there's no variables in those two.
So then you just prefer to table all the rest of the committees?
I think that's most appropriate,
Okay.
because many of the other committees do have other designations, including individual commissioner appointees, as well as at-large,
Okay.
that have been voted on in the past and that may be subject to change.
So in order to try to kind of wrap this up, I would be happy to make a motion to table Beaches and Shores, Children's Services, Code Enforcement Board. Oh, we don't,
The Construction Board.
Construction
of
Board.
Adjustment and Appeals.
Economic Development, Environmental Control Hearing Board, Planning and Zoning, and TDC until the second meeting in February.
Second.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, as you mentioned earlier, sometimes these positions are difficult to fill, first. Second, I believe our website offers opportunities continuously
Yes.
for each of these. Third is we have to be cognizant of some of the expirations of these terms, which will be in this month of January. And finally, our next item is a gentleman from the Construction Board of Appeals. How would that, our decision on this item, affect the following item?
Well,
And be mindful of the expiration dates, which are generally in January.
correct. Now, this gentleman is applying for a position that has laid vacant for several years.
At least 5 years.
Yes.
It was empty when I got elected.
I remember that. And we've been looking for someone who has done that. We've advertised, and I think personally, many of you have done the same thing. With that in mind,
We can table it with that
we could
exception.
probably table it with that exception as well, because that's a new addition.
You could table it. I know that there's I know we have a meeting this month of them, but yes, you can table the next one as well, if you would like to.
But don't, everybody's, I know that their expirations say they're this month, but they serve until we replace them.
That's right.
So it's not like they're gonna come to a meeting after their expiration date and we didn't reappoint them and they're not gonna be able to be a valid member of the committee. Is that what I'm understanding?
Right.
So to that point, Commissioner Laura, I don't know if that's helpful, but the second item, Mr. Miller's application, that's a completely separate item from this item. So it's independent of the decision
And it's
of
not,
tabling.
it's not an aggregate call for reappointment or reaffirmation. He's a new applicant.
Correct.
And he's looking at a vacancy that has been unfulfilled for several years.
I mean, the reality, I feel like, is we're not going to get that many more applications. We might get a few, and that's fantastic. It gives the opportunity to try to get new people involved, but we're really just going to be back here in a month reappointing the same people. So if we want to wait a month and they can still participate in their meetings, whatever you guys want to do and see what we get, but
Again, I want to satisfy, Commissioner Emmer makes a valid point. It's been a penumbra for many years. They've just been reappointed, so we have them for 2 years. Just rather,
I'd like to move on Commissioner Adams' motion.
yes.
That we just do that and leave the construction board of the next item. That's a totally separate thing.
What is that once again? That didn't sound,
So that's what I'd like to do.
you'd like,
Well, then the motion should be modified because if you,
correct.
first motion was to table all of them.
In this item.
in this item,
Right.
but Dwayne Miller's application is not in this item.
Is separate. So let's treat that separately.
He's,
Okay.
okay.
So that's a motion by Commissioner Adams, seconded by Commissioner Moss, to table this. And we will bring this back in February.
Whatever date it is that you guys want.
You want a time certain?
I said February, the second meeting in February, but
And that's legally sufficient.
Right, because again, your code says that your members on your boards and committees continue to serve until their successors are appointed, so nothing will stop functioning.
Motion's clear? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We did get through that. And of course, there's informational only, and
Mr. Chairman, you have a speaker.
May I ask the question?
please,
Tom Sullivan, 4187 West 16th Square. Could you just, I was a little confused there, the at-large person, could you describe that position? If someone is at-large, they remain forever? Okay.
no, but that was historically, when somebody was appointed, that we would have to bring them back. If we had no applicants, then they were just reappointed.
I see. Yeah. Well, I just have some curiosity because as you all get elected every few years, and those people remain on some critical boards which make critical decisions, and they're not rolled over, they could get a little stale. As we saw the reversal of the last P&Z decision that was made. So I just wanted to curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you. All right. We got that clarified.
Right, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, well, another wrenching. We'll move on to the Construction Board appointment for Adjustment Appeals member appointment. We have Dwayne Millar, who's an applicant. His application is on file and has been vetted, and is Dwayne here?
Move approval.
Second.
That was easy. We have a, not easier than the last one. We have a motion by Vice Chairman Law, seconded by Commissioner Moss. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Real quick not to belabor, but before we move on from this subject matter, I do have a question for the attorney, if that's okay. How do we remove somebody for lack of for missing meetings? What is the criteria and process for that? And does it have to go to the committee first?
Doesn't have to go to the committee.
Or does it just come straight to commission?
It-
Out of curiosity.
It comes to us. It's three, historically, it was 3 meetings. If you miss 3 meetings,
Unexcused?
then unexcused.
Is it 3? You said it's
Absence of any member from 3 consecutive meetings without approval of the commission or board on which he sits shall at the discretion of the county commission constitute an abandonment of the office by such member.
Recall.
Okay. I just think that that's probably something, as good stewards of our committees, we should keep an eye on as well, because we do have some chronic in the past. Anywho, I was curious. Thank you. Question answered.
Would advise, I've seen other places where if they miss those meetings without the permission, they're automatically removed and they have to reapply and the vacancy comes forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, look at that. We finished the attorney's matters. We don't have anything in special districts. I do want to pause for a moment because I just want to point out, I know this is the first meeting of the year, and thank you all, but I just like you to give a fair and equal, just an explanation of why not
Of my
all of
entire
us-
ensemble?
Yes.
Well, it is, as everybody knows, Frog Leg Festival time in my life. So the Frog Leg Festival, this will be our 34th year. It starts on Thursday, the 16th, and runs through Sunday, the 19th. All the money that we raise goes back into youth recreation, and in the past year, we were able to give almost $300,000 back to the city of Fellsmere and the volunteer groups that we help, or that help us put it on. So everybody hop on out. It is a frog-tastic weekend, and I appreciate you guys always putting up with my frog beret. It is the height of my fashion sense.
I understand there's some gator delicacies?
There is gator tail, frog legs and gator tail. We have about 3,000 pounds of frog legs, about 2,000 pounds of gator tail. Some of our staff came and helped us cut that up this weekend, so a big kudos and shout out to them. And I think that the county's going to be out there with the centennial, so stop on by. But Frog Legs, Gator Tail, carnival food, rides, booths. There's even a frog pond. You can catch a frog and kiss it. It may turn into a prince
I don't know if we're gonna.
or princess. It may not, but you know, it's always the gamble that you take when kissing
Look
frogs.
forward. It's gonna be a busy weekend.
It will.
Is there anything on the board? Is there any attending member of the public that wishes to speak on anything whatsoever?
Thank you. Tom Sullivan, 4187 West 16th Square. I missed the item earlier, I'm sorry, but it was the Costa Development, and it brought up an interesting point to me. We've approved the final phase of that, but I've kind of followed this along a long time, you know, Chairman. That, and it was, I found this very interesting. The development was planned originally, and it was planned for 624 units. You remember that way back when? It was 70 acres. It was 78 acres. The density was going to be 7.9, and we were all happy and everything. And all of a sudden, what happened was it changed, and it went down. It went from 624 to 487, which made everyone even happier. Okay, but then what happened was Pulte, who was always driving the bus, decided to sell 20 acres to Verity. And that 20 acres took the development rights of the entire property. So that guy bought 19 acres and was able to put 287 units on it. And I'm wondering if you want that to happen in the future.
It still had to conform with the,
It did. It conformed with, but okay.
it conformed with, and the plat worked, and the overlay fit as if it was going to fit in the previous application. So there's no.
Right. So but my point was that original owner that prescribed the plat, developed a very nice piece of property with it wound up being like 3.7 units per acre, and was able to offload out of probably, I don't know the price of that, 18 acres to a company in Indianapolis to build 287 units.
The original density.
Right. And I don't know if that should carry. You know, and the county we had some expense in this. They put a road in, but the county paid $3.5 million to fix the intersection at 41st and 37th. So, you know, I mean, that made that property or that developmental rights even more valuable. I just don't know. I don't know how you resolve that. I just think that when someone has the plot plan Pulte, that you've assigned them the rights, you haven't assigned them the right to sell the rights. That's what my thoughts were. Because otherwise, you could get a sophisticated person coming in, putting a PD in place, okay, and building a beautiful home, and on the other end of that property, because of the developmental rights, the number of units that was granted, without even coming back to you, administratively, they could be granted a change of how that property is developed.
Could be in that hypothetical scenario, I don't believe would ever occur.
Okay, okay. I just think, you know, to me,
I mean, it's,
I know,
you know,
I always think of them, you know. To me, I just thought that when I looked at it today, everybody was saying like how Pulte, you know, it was wonderful. They developed 60 acres with 3.7 units, and let's give them a gold star. And I said, time out here. You know, they also sold off the property right and the development rights to someone for 287 units, you know. And the county had already bought in for $3.5 million to fix that traffic light. You know, I just look at it, I guess sometimes as like the guy who pays the bills. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Anyone else? Please. Please. Your opportunity.
So I am here to once again, I'm Carolyn Lang, to discuss not actually fluoride, but I first want to talk about, well, first, the fact of the matter is, according to this map, fluoride, which is named a medicine. It's a medicine. It is dispensed in Indian River County at the highest rate. I'm happy to leave this here. All these blue areas are dispensing fluoride at 77 to 100% in the public water. A lot of people talk about fluoride. We don't need to talk about fluoride. What we're talking about here today is we're talking about, and everybody's heard of the Nuremberg Code. We're talking about breaking the law, okay? The Nuremberg Code states, and so does the Medical Freedom Act bill, states that there will be no municipal water system that is allowed to dispense a medicine, okay? I've talked to Joe, and I've talked to Joe some time ago in May, and the fact of the matter is, it's very important to understand this one thing. I want to say it over and over again. The Nuremberg Code also states that informed consent is the right of every American citizen in the United States of America. And you have to inform people. You just can't medicate them. I don't think anybody up here has an MD in medicine. And even if you did, you're not my doctor. So therefore, it is absolutely imperative that the fluoride be taken out of the water. I got from Sean Litsky, was sent to Lisa Eden, an email showing all the components, the chemical components that are actually in the water in Indian River County. And, you know, there's aluminum titrate, there's some company called Cibolo that, you know, gives you this and this. So there's other poisons that are in our water, but they aren't deemed medicines. So, you know, it really should be the right of every person in the United States of America to have clean drinking water, to have healthy water. I have a $5,000 Alini water system, which takes everything out, which is one of the few systems that takes out fluoride. What I'm concerned about is children. Fluoride is known to cause neurotoxicity. Neurotoxicity reduces IQ from 5 to 9%. We certainly don't want that. Yesterday in a Pilates class, this beautiful teacher was 5 months pregnant. And I came up to her and I said, "Do you know anything about fluoride? And here you are carrying a child." And she said, "No, I don't." So I took the time to talk to her. She and her husband are living in a rental home, and they really can't afford a $5,000 water system for their protection. There is a lawyer in Los Angeles. His name is Michael Connett. And Michael Connett is saying what I've said all over the United States. And he has people turn off the water systems. Now, February the 14th of 2024 in Collier County, which is Naples, there were 40 people there. And they went up and they talked about fluoride, fluoride, fluoride. And I don't think that the county commissioners would have probably turned off the fluoride, made the decision to do that. But there were 4 people that came up and talked about the fact that it is illegal to dispense a medicine through a municipal water system. So right now, we have Donald Trump coming in as our new president, and he has appointed RFK Jr. And RFK Jr.'s first business that he wants to do when his appointment has gone through is, and maybe some of you have seen this, is turn off the fluoride. This is all over the United States. It has to be done, and it will be done. But there's a pregnant woman who taught me Pilates yesterday who's pregnant. There's a little boy sitting right here who's 2 years old. And this affects his mind. This causes neurotoxicity. So I don't know what needs to be done to convince Indian River County. Oh, let me say that it was, the fluoride was turned off in Tarvis. Where's Tarvis, Dina? Tavares? Okay, last week. This morning, the mayor of Melbourne, there's a county commissioners meeting, and the mayor has come in there to have the fluoride taken out. So, bringing this to everybody's attention and knowing that this is a law from the Nuremberg Code. We all want to be healthy, don't we? I mean, we all know that there is enough things, chemicals in our food today that aren't good for us. I have a little app called Yuka, and when I'm running around in Publix, I go up there and I check things. I think people think I work for Publix, maybe. I don't know. But if I see things, that are hazardous, or you see things in products that have some great big long name, you know that they shouldn't be there. We should just be having clean food and clean water. We all need water. We all need oxygen. So I don't need to talk anymore, but, as I wrote here, that Indian River County is in violation of the Nuremberg Code. To use the water supply to deliver any medicine and violates our right to informed consent. And this would be something that would be interesting. Okay, we know, I just said that it lowers IQ. Over 200 human and animal studies have been done. It lowers it from 6 to 9%. Here's another thing that's interesting, I think that we'll all find interesting, is humans can only excrete 50 to 60% of our daily fluoride intake. So that leaves another 40 to 50% that's staying in our body. The FDA fluoride product warning label, keep out of the reach of children. Fluoride crosses the placenta and can harm vulnerable developing brains. It causes ADHD. Okay, now the EPA does not mandate, they don't mandate anything. Does not have the authority to do it. But anyway, we need to have fluoride out of the water because it's illegal to have it in there because it is deemed a medicine. It is a prescription. I could go on and I will wrap up right here, but fluoride comes from acidic lacquer scrubbers. It is a waste product, and it cannot even be handled. You have to be wearing a hazmat suit to get even near to it. It is a very dangerous substance. And to Joe and Joe, I've sent, Lisa Eden has also, so many links of things to look at, confirming all of this. And so, we know that it's not good. And Vero Beach is spending $32,000 a year to put it in there. So they can't get rid of this because they can't put it in the landfill. So they're selling it to Indian River County for $32,000 a year, and then they're putting it in our water. So, I'm here, although maybe fluoride will be announced through FDR on Tuesday of next week, that it's not allowed. But I would want to be proud of Indian River County for taking fluoride out, because it's against the law. And, you know, that's just it. We don't even have to talk about fluoride. But fluoride is the medicine that is being dispensed, and it is against the law. So, okay?
Thank you for your view.
Okay.
Anything further?
I'd like to speak. Good morning, and thank you for all being here. I agree with everything that she says.
Your name?
Oh, my name is Dina Accardi. I agree with
Yes,
everything
you called, yes.
she says. I also would like to add that the federal court's finding that fluoride is associated with the neurotoxic effects, particularly in reduced IQ in children, amplifies concerns about the public health risk of fluoridation. These findings support the recommendation to abolish the fluoridation program and a careful reassessment of the legal risk under Florida statutes 859.01 and 381.026, which could expose the city to liability for administering a medical treatment without informed consent and exposing residents to hazardous substances. Our Lisa Eden had emailed Sean Liskey, who is the director of the utility services, and he answered questions about what is actually in this system. And so one of them, which I looked up, was hydrofluoric acid. So when you look up hydrofluoric acid, there is a skull and bones, and it says danger, may be corrosive to metals, harmful if swallowed, toxic in contact with skin, causes severe burns and eye damage. And we are putting this in our drinking water. We're drinking it, we are bathing in it, we are cooking with it, our children are swimming in it, and they're getting exposed. Our skin is like sponges. And so I just don't consent to this, you know, in our water system. I am fortunate to have an Alini system as well, but not many people have that luxury of getting this system to remove the fluoride out of their water. I hope you guys, we had sent information to both Joe Ehrman and to you, Fletcher. I met Laura Moss at one of the Hispanic Republican meetings, and so we just want to do what's right. 36 counties have removed this out of their systems, and there's some happening today. As we speak, I was praying and hoping that this was going to be one of those days that our county was doing that, and unfortunately it's not on the agenda, but please consider putting it on next month's agenda so we could, you know, get this out of our systems. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your view, Ms. Accardi.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, this meeting's adjourned.